All right, hey everybody. You haven't seen me in a few weeks in a live lecture. We've had some lighter weeks of content with just some basic readings, and we've really established through the first two-thirds of this semester, which is already over, a good foundation for political communication. So this is our first of 2 weeks when we're going to talk about drugs and the war against drugs. And I can just about guarantee you that no matter what your background is, no matter what you believe about drugs and drug users and addiction right now, that you'll probably be challenged at least once in the next 2 weeks. So I want to start with some disclaimers. Number one, I'm an addicted person. I spent 4 or 5 years running the streets of a little town called Battle Creek, Michigan. Throughout the early 2000s, I was addicted to fentanyl. I was addicted to Oxycontin for a little while, in mainline injection of cocaine and heroin. So when we talk about this is my specialty that I studied to get my PhD. So I have a theoretical and a statistical background, but I also have a personal background. I'll also note that in the videos you're going to watch this week, which I recorded 2 or 3 years ago, I used the term addict or addicts. I pluralize it at one point. Sometimes this is the result of me quoting literature that's older, and sometimes as an addicted person myself, I just sort of forget that my use of that language still goes out in the vacuum of the world. So at this point in my career, I do go out of my way to use the term addicted person, what we call person-based language. But we're 2 months into discussing these themes. So as you dig into this content and at times are challenged, keep pulling it back into the venue of political communication. Now, don't forget, political communication strategies often utilize distasteful themes such as fear, religious domination, racism, xenophobia, misogyny, or ableism to further their political agendas. And we'll see that this week with the war on drugs once again. But also remember that there's no conspiracy, at least not one that's necessary. Like, there's no private meeting of rich, white, heterosexual men who want racist and sexist ideas to persist in our cultural norms. I'm not saying such meetings don't happen, they probably still do, but the way that the system is currently built, they're not required for it to operate in an oppressive manner. Power is addictive, so to speak. So once you have it, or you want it, you tend to follow a recipe for maintaining it. And that means getting people to support you, often by tying into those very things. Those who win elections and get propositions passed into policy are those who understand the tendency of U.S. citizens to fear, hate, misunderstand, or stereotype their neighbors, and our tendency to refuse to acknowledge that, the fearing of each other. If politicians or organizations or corporations or people ignore these bases of potential supporters, well, their competition will just take advantage because everybody in this country gets a vote. Those who are elected are those who are best at garnering the support of a large crowd in a manner that avoids turning some group members off, again, using dog whistles. So keep that in mind as you move forward, because the war on drugs was built 100 years ago, and things were very different then. It's not just a racist conspiracy designed to mislead citizens. It's more or better thought of as an ancient machine of employment that now pays the bills of millions of citizens and is designed and built at a time in U.S. history when openly racist ideology was readily available bedrock for such a project. Revealingly, as we'll see, many of the original inaccuracies about the war on drugs have stood the test of time. And a century into this war, there's no end in sight. But the thing is, the racist and sexist stereotypes that you'll hear about this week and next week, which were used to originally construct the war on drugs, and then duct tape bad behavior and substances that we were afraid of to certain bodies, well, this far in, a lot of the racist undertones have gone away, leaving just the other bad stuff that was originally attached using racism. So again, all of this will be talked about in the next couple weeks. I apologize for the long rambling introduction on a week when you've also got to watch lectures from me, but I did want to share those few facts and sort of frame the next 2 weeks of content. As always, I have open office hours every Tuesday if you want to pop in, and get a hold of me if you need to talk at a time that I'm not available and already online, and we can set up something that works for you.